Hi guys, and welcome to session 2 of Youth Ministry 101. My name is Tim Messenger, and I'm the Director of Youth and Young Adult Ministry here in the Diocese of Worcester. And I'd just like to welcome you back for our second session. Today we're going to be talking about assessing a parish, assessing the needs of the parish, getting kind of a further idea of our vision. So just before we jump into that, I just want to quickly recap session 1. I know most of you were able to make it. If you weren't, hopefully you were able to see the first video. You can find that first session video recording on the website, newworcester.org, under session 1. But yeah, in our first session, we talked about, in general, what is youth ministry? Kind of what is the purpose? What is the overall goal? What does an ideal youth ministry look like? We talked about the different stages of discipleship, and we really left that session by, proposing the simple question of, what is the vision in our own parish, and beginning to come up with that, maybe not that overall nuts and bolts, like super specific vision, but kind of the general, what are some initial thoughts you have about vision. So hopefully you had a chance to, we had a couple goals from session 1. Hopefully you had a chance to, number 1, come up with a simple vision. Number 2, take that vision and have a meeting with your pastor, talk with him about how it fits into the overall vision of the parish. And then we talked about scheduling a time with your pastor to speak at all the masses one weekend. So hopefully you've had a chance to have that meeting. Hopefully you haven't spoke at the masses yet, because today in our session we're going to be talking about what that sort of talk would look like. But today we're talking about assessing our parish. And so what's the purpose of this session? What's the purpose of parish assessment? Well, really, we're taking our initial vision and we're going to try to start filling it in with maybe some of the needs that we're noticing in our own parish community, filling it in with specific people, maybe specific teenagers, specific adults that may come forward through this assessment process as fitting into some of those different stages of discipleship. But really, a lot of this session is going to be about how do we gather information from our parish, and how do we make a plan going forward to ultimately build our team and begin planning into our ministry. So today, before we jump into the session, we're going to begin with prayer, and we'll begin the same way we did with session 1. We're going to do some Lectio Divina. So I'm going to pull up a verse here in a second, and just kind of a recap on how Lectio Divina works. We're going to read through, I'm going to invite you just to pause the screen and read through the verse 3 times. The first time, I'm going to invite you just to read through it and pick one word that stands out to you. It could be for any reason at all. Pray with that word for maybe like 30 seconds or so, then read through the verse again. The second time, focus on those words or phrases around that word that you had picked. Pray with those words. Ask God, what is he trying to say in this passage, or maybe in that one word or phrase that you're praying with. Pray with that for maybe 30 seconds, a minute, and then read it one more time. And the final time, put yourself into the story. We're going to be reading a parable here from one of the Gospels. So put yourself into the story. Imagine Jesus speaking this parable to you as if you're one of his followers, you're one of the people listening, whoever that may be. And imagine ask yourself, what is Jesus trying to say specifically to you through this passage? So we're going to pull up the passage here. I like this passage, especially how it relates with ministry and youth ministry specifically. We have this sower who's casting out these seeds. And I think a lot of times we can feel, when we look at the different types of soil that the seeds fall on, we can feel similarly with these different types when we look at our own youth ministry programs, or the youth and family in our parishes. We can, it's easy to recognize that there's different types of soil. There's the people that have the fruitful soil. They're on board, they're ready to go, and then you have the thorns, all those extra things that are choking the ministry that we're trying to do, the rocky soil, the path where it just gets eaten up. We see all this, and we experience all these different types of soil. And I think one of the challenges when we're doing youth ministry is to really be able to effectively know, okay, what is the soil we're dealing with, and how do we minister effectively to that? And that first question, the what is the soil, that can be hard, because when we look at our parishes, and we were talking about this in the last session, the people that we see on a regular basis on Sundays and in Mass, that's a very small percentage of the actual population that we're really trying to reach out to. And so it's hard to know, that soil that we're trying to deal with. And hopefully this session, when we're talking about assessment, gives us a better understanding of, first starting with the soil, the people that we're working with, the opportunity for ideas, for input from people in our parish to help us fill in that vision, to help us recognize not only that we're dealing with different types of soil, but the people that fall into those different types of soil, really. So today we're going to talk about that assessment process. Okay, so the assessment process. First of all, what is the point of the assessment process? Why don't we just jump right into ministry? Why don't we start planning some stuff, start putting it out there to teens? Well, the assessment process, it kind of helps us to really have a direction, have an idea of where we're going. The main thing about it is it helps us to further develop that initial vision we began to establish. And it does that through a few ways. First of all, it's going to help us to get some valuable input, some ideas, because that's really one of the biggest points of all of it. We want to get ideas from people, from parents, from teens, from the parish community in general. And then hopefully the assessment process, when we're through with it, we're going to be able to further identify, what stage of faith development our youth are in, our families are in, and be able to specifically pick out people and families, youth, to put in those different stages that we're beginning to identify with that initial vision. And then finally, the assessment process is hopefully going to reveal to us at least a couple of key people that we can tap into in terms of adult leaders, adult volunteers to be on a core team, maybe valuable parents who we can build upon, or some of our key teenagers as well. So what does this assessment process look like? So here's a series of just different elements that when I'm thinking of parish assessment, I would want to have involved in this. So the first two bullet points are almost like your pre-steps, and hopefully you've had a chance at least to do the first one. So meeting with your pastor, and this is key. How does the youth ministry vision fit into the vision of the parish as a whole? And then meeting with any parish staff. Now this, depending on your parish, this could look different. This may be a step that you don't take at all. Some parishes are big and have large parish staffs, and so you could meet with them or maybe meet with the ones that would overlap with youth ministry the most. There may be some parishes, maybe you're on the staff and so you are that key person that's going to overlap with, or maybe you're at a really small parish where the staff is you and father, and so your parish staff meeting is going to look the same as your pastor meeting. That's something that you kind of have to gauge for yourself, but I would definitely encourage, if there's any ministries, specifically like religious ed, family ministry, different things like that, that would have like an overlap with youth ministry, you'd probably want to talk with those people, see, maybe not, it doesn't have to be this is what their vision is, but how does, when you're first thinking those steps, how does youth ministry complement and healthily overlap with some of those other ministries? So those are kind of your pre-steps. The rest of these bullet points, this would be like the suggested order of how I do things. It could depend on the situation of your parish, but so you don't have to do in this order. And there are some legitimate reasons why you may not want to, but for the most part, I would say this is the order in which you want to do things in. So I'll go through these real quickly and then we'll talk about them in more detail. The first one is presenting your vision to the parish community as a whole. And probably the best way to do this is to take one weekend, like we were saying at the last session, and speak at all the masses. This is really the best chance to see the most people all at one time. And so if you're able to do that, to present your vision as well. And then from there, springboarding really into a series of surveys, surveying parents, surveying youth, surveying the parish community in general, and then having a series of meetings that would be very similar to the survey, except an in-person opportunity to talk about these things, discuss them, definitely with the parents, if possible the youth. And then after all these things, after we've gotten this information, this data, we'll review the results and begin to see who those core key people are in terms of starting this ministry up. So we'll just take them through, starting with presenting the vision to the parish. And like I was saying just now, the best way I would suggest to do this, although it's not the only way, but it's probably the best way and most effective way, if you can, is speaking at all the masses. So preparing a talk at Mass. Now, let me start by saying this can be an intimidating thing. I've had a chance to do this a few times, and it's always hard, especially if it's the first time you've done it, or maybe it's the first time you're talking about something, first time you're talking about youth ministry to the parish. It could be challenging, especially if if you have a big parish or you don't know the parish community in general as well, or maybe you do know everyone, and that's great too. And then it's just public speaking is not always everyone's thing. But I think it's a necessary step, whether it's you or somebody who's involved in this whole planning process. Now, what are you hoping to accomplish with doing a talk at Mass? Well, number one, you're not going to try to tackle everything. You're not trying to present what this ministry is going to look like. Really, this is your first chance to begin to inquire for help. So, a few quick tips. First of all, when you do this talk, it's got to be something that's very short, to the point. I'd suggest like 3 to 5 minutes long. And the reason for this is when you do the talk, it's going to take place most likely at one or two places during Mass. It'll either take place at the end of the homily, which, as we know, people can already be restless at that point, and so you're not going to have much of people's attention spans left. Or what's even more likely is doing the talk at the very end of Mass, which I know a lot of people are ready to get out of there, and so you're only going to have just a few moments to try to get your point across. So when you're giving this talk, first of all, you want to give a brief introduction of who you are, what your role is in all of this, and then you're going to just spend a few moments talking about that initial vision you have, that general vision that we talked about in session 1. This isn't the nuts and bolts, because you probably aren't even going to know what that is. I doubt you know what that is yet, because part of this assessment process is helping further develop that vision. But really, just that first initial vision you've come up with, and then taking a moment to speak directly to parents, and speaking to them to, first of all, ask for their support with their own kids, encouraging their kids to be involved in whatever ministry may happen in the future, but then asking them for their input. As parents are the primary catechists, and so you're going to want to know what the parents are going to want to see for their kids in youth ministry, and then asking them if any of them are willing, or would at least consider helping in some way, some sort of leadership, and there's a lot of ways to do that. Next, take a moment to speak directly to any youth that are there at Mass. And again, this isn't going to be trying to rope them into come to events, but mainly saying that as teenagers, they're just as much of the parish as anybody else. And so the whole point of youth ministry is to give them a place to have that role in the parish, to be fully incorporated into the parish community. And then finally, speaking just for a few more moments directly to the parish as a whole, for their input, for their ideas. But really, and with all of this, your main goal is you're going to want to ask for help. And help takes the form of a lot of things. Like I was saying before, this is going to springboard into things like surveys and meetings and things where we're going to be, gathering a lot of input. And so we need their help by just them giving us their input. We also need their help if anyone's wanting to help volunteer, or at least think about volunteering. Now, it's important, the talk for Mass, it's important that we offer some sort of immediate follow-up to speaking at Mass. This can't be something where we give a talk and then we say, in a couple of weeks you'll get an email from us and they'll have some more information. There has to be an immediate, right then and there, chance for them to respond. And there's two ways. There's a lot of ways you can do this, but two ways that I'm a fan of that I think would really be helpful. Number one is setting up a table in the back of Mass. We see this with lots of ministries, with people selling stuff. We see it all the time. But setting up a table where you can point to that in your talk, saying, after Mass, I'll be in the back. I'd love to hear from you. We're going to have a sign-up sheet. Doesn't mean you are committing to anything. It just means you either may want to help out or you just want information as a parent or a teen. You could also have some dates and times of some upcoming meetings if you know what those are yet. If you don't, it's no big deal. And then if you do have some surveys, which we'll talk about that in a few moments, having some copies of paper surveys or even links to an online survey. Now, getting people to actually show up to the table is, a huge part of the battle. And so just telling them that during the talk isn't necessarily the most effective means. You have to give some sort of immediate incentive as well. So this could be like, hey, we have donuts at the table. If you come to get to the table and talk with us or put your name down, you get a free donut, or maybe it's a free coffee coupon or something like that. Or maybe they enter their name into a raffle to win like a gift card. Whatever that may be, there's a lot of different things you could do. If it's a parent, little kids, you have stickers or something in the back. The other way for immediate follow-up, and we see this a lot with like monetary donations for offertory or for like the annual diocesan appeal, is have like a card or have a stack of cards in the corner of each pew, where someone, they're not donating, but maybe they can put their name and their email address, their phone number, if they're a parent who just wants more information. And again, a no risk, no commitment type of thing. Just the main goal is that you're trying to get information from them. And again, offering that immediate incentive. Maybe if they fill out a card, and put in the collection basket, they're automatically entered into a drawing for, I don't know, a gift card or something like that. But the reason for these immediate incentives, sounds bad, but you almost want to trick people into into giving you into talking to you about ministry. And a lot of times when if you're a volunteer, a lot of times that's how it happens. They're not tricked, but it happens by mistake or accident sometimes. But that's some of the ways that God through the Holy Spirit works. So that's what a talk for Mass looks like. Now I'm going to give you a real quick example of what that looks like here. Okay, so I'm going to give a quick example of what this looks like. I have my stopwatch here on my phone. That's going to hopefully help keep time to make sure I'm within that 3 to 5 minute range. So if I was giving a talk at a parish, this is what it would look like. Good morning. My name is Tim Messenger. I'm a parishioner here at our parish, and I'm here this morning to talk briefly to you about youth ministry. I've been meeting with Father as well as members of our parish staff over the last month or two, and we've been discussing really a need to develop a comprehensive youth ministry program here at our parish. Now, why are we doing youth ministry, and what is the purpose of it? Well, the purpose is fourfold. First of all, we want to have a place, a community for the young people in our parish to be able to come to engage one another in community and fellowship, to be an active part of our parish. Number two, we want to present evangelization and catechesis in a dynamic and engaging way to our teenagers. Number three, we want to have an opportunity for the teens in our parish to have a spiritual encounter with Jesus Christ and to develop a life of prayer with him, to hopefully, which is our fourth step, to really engage in discipleship in terms of coming back into the parish and serving as a leader, whether it's among their peers or in ministry in general. So that's our goal with youth ministry, and that's what we're hoping to accomplish. Over the next few months, we're going to be beginning to plan and develop what this youth ministry will look like, and we really need the help and support of everyone here. To the parents out there, you are the primary catechist of your teens, and we need your help and support. First, we need your ideas and input in how you want us to be ministering to your teens and how we can work together to minister the teens of our parish. We also need your support in terms of encouraging your teens to participate, to be involved in the parish youth ministry. And finally, if you're able to, we would love to have your help in any way that may be. That could just be offering ideas, or that may be helping to serve on a core team of adult leaders. To the youth out there, to our teenagers, to those young people in our parish, you are a vibrant and active part of our parish community. We need you. The church needs you. And so youth ministry, really the whole purpose of youth ministry is to give you a place in our church, in our parish community, to be an active member, to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. We need your ideas. We need your input. We want to know what you would like to see in youth ministry, and we need your support as well. And to just all the parishioners and everyone here at this parish, youth ministry isn't something that's just for youth or just for families, but it's a whole parish effort. And so we need all the people here in our parish to give us your ideas, your support, your input, and most importantly, your prayers. So as we go through these next few months, you'll have the opportunity to get more information as it comes. If you're someone who would like to help, whether that's in planning or helping to facilitate any parts of this program, please let us know. In the corner of your pews, there are some cards. If you'd like to give us your name and contact information, whether you'd like to help volunteer or even just our parent or team that wants more information that comes forward, please fill it out, drop in the collection basket. And you're actually going to be, if you do that, you're going to be entered into a raffle to win a $25 Amazon gift card. We're also going to have a table set up in the back of Mass with some free donuts for anyone who stops by. There we're going to have some times for some upcoming meetings, some surveys available. And we love just to have you stop by, say hello, to talk to you, to give us any thoughts you may have. So once again, please just help us in supporting us through prayer and through any means that may be. So thank you so much for listening to me this morning, and let's continue to pray for our church, pray for our youth, and pray for one another. Thank you, and God bless. So pretty good. 3 minutes 46 seconds. So that's hopefully that wasn't a perfect talk, but hopefully that gives you kind of an idea of what we're trying to aim for. So that's really the first part in this whole assessment process. Now, that's a good, I like using that as sort of like a springboarding point into what we're going to be doing next. So if you get people, and again, don't anticipate that every person's going to be filling something out, or maybe everyone's going to be coming to your table. If you can get like 10 people, that's awesome. That's a good start. And that's why we're talking about like kind of adding those extra little incentives, because we're human beings. If we get something out of it, then we're more likely to do it. But it springboards us into our next portion, which is gathering input through a series of surveys. So I'm going to pull up the next slide here. We're going to talk about surveys. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about surveys. First of all, who are we surveying? We're going to be sending at least 2, possibly 3, but probably most likely 2, but parents, teens, parishioners. If we're surveying the parishioners, that's going to be just part of an overarching like survey to adults, and the first question can be, are you a parent, or if you have a teen, what's their age? Similar to the talk at Mass, you're also going to want to keep your surveys short and simple. This isn't the time where you're going to want to ask 100 question surveys. You're going to want to be 5 to 7 questions, really not a lot of open-ended things, giving as many multiple choice or checkbox answers as possible, always having the opportunity for comments, because then that does give people, or like the other option where someone can type something in, but something really quick, because what you're going to want to do, I think the most effective way to get a lot of people to take surveys is if you can give them something that's going to take less than a minute to complete, where they can take their phone out. And this could be, if it's possible, and you have a link on like the parish website or somewhere where, let's say after Mass, like come to your table. Certainly you can have a paper one, but maybe like if they have a link, they can just pull their phone out, click on the link, and then just boom, 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 like click through that. They can take those surveys. This will give us the opportunity to get more people to answer. And in reality, there's not really a lot of things, at least at this point, that we're needing to ask. And not a lot of things we want to ask, because for our own organizational purposes, having a short and simple survey is also helpful. The goal of your survey, similar with the goal of everything else, not a lot of complicated stuff, mainly getting ideas for events and programs, to help you get a better picture of the vision, get an idea of where youth and families are in their faith life and their areas of discipleship. And then from who completes those surveys, and depending if you have options for them to leave their contact information of who filled out what, you can identify maybe some of those key people, or you can identify what things specific teenagers, specific families are interested in. It can be really helpful moving forward when we're further developing that vision and planning out youth ministry. So let's start with a parent survey. What should this look like? And before I move on, talk about just some different types of surveys. So certainly you can do the paper ones. And again, if you're giving out stuff at Mass, it's always good, or it's always good just to have that on hand. I would recommend, as much as you can, keeping a survey online. There's a lot of great survey programs out there. There's SurveyMonkey. Use Flocknote. You can do surveys through that. My favorite, the one I use the most, is Google Forms, mainly because I know it's a free survey thing, and a lot of them are free. But Google Forms, you can you can ask unlimited things, which again in this case we're not going to be asking a lot of questions, but and there's a lot of options. It does what it needs to. So in addition to this video, I'll also put a YouTube link to a Google Forms tutorial. So in case you're not familiar with that, you can see how to create one of those. But it's super simple. For Google Forms, you do need a Google account, but that's something that's really easy to sign up for. It's free. But all the online survey programs, there's a lot of good stuff out there. And the big thing, what they do is they help you organize that data. You don't have to go through and see how many people answered this or what it might be. So when you're asking the survey to parents, these are the big things I would ask. First of all, and again, this could be in the context of a larger survey to all adults, where even before that first question, you can ask, do you have a child, or tell us about yourself, parent, or young adult, whatever that may be. But then when you're asking them specific parent questions, one, to know what grade their teen might be in, and again, you give options. You can give 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. But yeah, give those options, and then really figuring out what area of faith development their teen or their family is in. And so the second question, I'm basically, what aspects of youth ministry are important to you? I'm basically putting here the 4 stages of discipleship, um, and having them, have a chance to fill out what that might look like. Also, what I'll do in addition to the tutorial, I'll create like a sample Google survey with all these, so you can see like what this actually looks like in terms of a survey, so you have something to work with. But you may want to ask there may be other questions you want to ask. You may have other ideas as well. Having things as simple as what types of events you want to see. And again, these are kind of ordered in terms of the stages of discipleship. So you'll notice those first 2 are more kind of community fun types of events, really the first 3. And then we move into maybe some more of that evangelization stuff, more of the spiritual deepening, and then finally discipleship service. And then just some practical things, what days and times work best for gatherings. And then the big thing, always, this could either be at the beginning or the end, are you interested in helping in any way? And if so, have an option for them to put their name and email or some kind of contact information. And make sure you make it clear that doesn't mean they have to, this could just be for either wanting to help or even just wanting to get more information. Because you want to do as much as you can to try to get the contact information from people who are doing these. You may feel comfortable enough to just make that a question. I know it just depends on your parish, or you may just want to make that optional, because sometimes people don't want you to see who's answering what. And even if they don't give you their contact information, you're still getting a lot of good information, so it's still helpful. So here's the youth survey, which is going to look similar to the parent survey. Again, you're asking some of those simple questions. The one thing I added here was like, how would you describe your faith life? And this can just, it can help you see where they're at in their faith. The one other question, I didn't have this on either of the surveys, but the one other question I would ask, and I guess this would be related to, how would they describe their faith life, is maybe the specific topics that they want to be interested in, specific topics that parents might want their teens to learn about, or other topics that teens would want to learn themselves. This can help you in terms of when you're planning any type of youth ministry curriculum, know those focus points of maybe those more catechetical evangelization, I'd say, that you're planning. So the whole purpose of these surveys, again, is that information, but then just recognizing where people are at and knowing, how you can reach out to specific people. This is overall going to help you to further develop your vision, and even place people into specific aspects of your vision. The final step would be having a series of meetings, and this is going to look really similar to the surveys. It's going to be just like an in-person format of doing the survey. The parent meeting would definitely be the one you'd want to have the most. And here's kind of a sample of what this would look like. If you had a big enough group, you could break up into small groups, ask these questions, and then really the purpose of it is having kind of an open discussion of, what parents want to see in youth ministry, and even the parents that are showing up, that they're at least interested in some way, even if that's at the very least, having their teens involved. If you are able to do a teen meeting, which that's hard, really the best times I would suggest to do that would be if you have like high school religious ed program, middle school religious ed program, seeing if you can do that as part of one of the classes, or doing it kind of parallel to a parent meeting. It usually doesn't work out too well if you try to just schedule a youth meeting, especially if like the teens, they don't know you, or that, a lot of them, you're probably not going to get huge numbers for that, but you may have a chance with some of these other things. And yeah, also at the meetings, especially the teen ones, if they haven't done the survey, it's another chance to put that out there. Um, but once you've done all these different things, you hopefully will be able to get some good information, and it's going to help us to further fill in our vision. So here are those stages of discipleship again. These are the same things that we talked about in the first session. And again, these are those similar questions that we're asking, and now we look at those, we see how we can further fill it in. So when we're talking about the things that we can offer, what are those ideas that we're seeing from parents, from youth, from the parish in general, that people want to see? Based on the people that complete the surveys, the people that go to the meetings, who are some of those youth and families that fall into each of these stages, and how does our vision either change or kind of grow deeper with some of this input? So the goal of this whole assessment phase is it's pretty simple. Number one, you're going to want to present that vision to the parish community. And then you're just want to gather ideas. And from those ideas, from those surveys, those meetings, identify who the people are that are interested, the teens, the parents, the people that you can build upon, whether it's through coming to things, parents that will support you, or people that could potentially serve on a core team. This is really the whole goal, and it's going to propel us into that next session. So from here, we're still in that phase of building the foundation of youth ministry. You know, we haven't got to the point where we're starting to plan things out and build the program yet. We're still trying to gather these ideas, but the valuable part, I think, of this assessment phase is that it helps to, again, get those ideas, that input, those people, but then it's going to help us to begin to identify some of those people who will potentially serve in that core team, which is what session 3 is going to be all about. And this isn't the only way that we're going to recruit core team members. We're going to talk more about that in the next session. But once we get to that point, we can form that team and then take all this information and among our team, look at it and really utilizing that team to be the driving force of what this ministry is going to look like. And the ideas that we're getting, the input from the assessment program is really going to provide the content in how we're going to move forward with that. So yeah, that's really what this assessment period is all about. Like I said, through this, hopefully you'll be able to get those ideas, those people, begin to maybe get people who are interested in being on a core team. And in the next session, we'll talk more about that core team and the dynamics of it, how to get people, what are some different roles and responsibilities, and how we'll move on from there. So once again, thank you for joining us. And again, if you can make it to the in-person sessions, please, we'd love to have you there, but if not, we understand. And so that's what these videos are all about. So if you have any questions, definitely feel free to contact me. You can contact me either via email or directly at the office. And hopefully you have that contact information there. If not, I'll leave another slide up here at the end of the session with my contact info as well. But just on behalf of the Youth Ministry Office here in the Diocese of Worcester, thank you for joining us for today, and we'll be praying for you, pray for our diocese, our parishes, and the mission of youth ministry as we move forward, building up the young church. So thanks everyone, and have a great day. God bless.